Hi everybody, this is George, your 6-year-old ketogenic lifestyle coach from the town of Bridgewater in Somerset, in England, in the UK. And tonight we're going to talk about the fourth in this series of videos which I'm doing about what you can expect if you choose to ever come and work with me in the future. I do intend to start my coaching career on the 7th of January of 2026. To give me time to basically sort my life out, get the YouTube up and running better, which I'm still waiting to do because I just never find the time. And secondly, to actually get the LLC, limited liability company, up and running. And also because I do feel that going into Christmas is probably not a time when most people want to make that lifestyle change. Very sensible if they do, but it's logical to actually get Christmas out of the way and then make a fresh start in January. So I do feel that the second week of January is a very good time to actually um, start talking about making the permanent lifestyle changes that we all talk about in January, otherwise known as New Year resolutions, which invariably get broken. So there's no point in making a resolution, but it's just a question of a gradual change, a mindset change, I suppose. So yeah, tonight we'll talk about the what I call the four pillars of carnivore. Um, I first came up with three pillars, which I ran past my great friend, the Carnivore teacher Alpha, John Laspina, back on an interview in, I think, probably January of this year, when I said that my three pillars were the why, the reason that you do these things, the research that it takes to actually come to understand it and to know about what you're doing and feel confident in what you are doing, and ultimately then it's community, which is all about a shared experience with others, because that is the way that we self-validate, I suppose, and it's also the way that we help other people, and that we confirm in our own minds that we are not alone, because most human beings are gregarious social animals. I'm very much like that. In the army, I was probably always down the naffy with my mates, and probably the last to leave the naffy on many occasions, to be perfectly honest with you. So it's yeah, community to me is absolutely vitally important. However, in those three, I have now added a fourth, which is mindset, which is actually, in my view, the second in this series of the four pillars of carnivore. I thought about the mindset video after my 3-month coaching course under the auspices of Dr. Kiltz, which was taught by Dr. Nelson. But Dr. Kiltz actually taught the lesson on mindset. It's all about sort of basically changing your mindset, but we'll come to that when we actually do the next one after this. But when we first come to carnivore, when we first come to therapeutic carbohydrate restriction, most of us do it through desperation. We are chronically ill and we are just looking for some solution, no matter how radical it may be, to our misery and discomfort. The lucky ones amongst us, well, you make your own luck, but those who come to it without actually having a serious chronic disease do so through inspiration, because they've learnt that they forward think, they're critical thinkers, which and they don't want to go down the route of becoming chronically ill before they have to try and pull the uh, no, pull yourself around, pull it out of the fire. Well, I'm trying to think of what we say, but to pull it out of the fire. Um, so yeah, if there are some excellent young people out there in their 20s who are not yet chronically ill, and they realise that the best way of never becoming chronically ill is to adopt therapeutic carbohydrate restriction, be that keto, low carb, high fat, or carnivore, at a young age to preserve their health. Good on you, folks. Good on you. Right. So the why that makes you cry, the reason that we do it, the why that makes you cry is a phrase by the great Dr. Lisa Wiedemann, who's looking absolutely magnificent in her 60s on the carnivore lifestyle. She is experimenting a little bit now with tweaking it slightly, going back down more the ketogenic route. Fair play to her. It's what we do. But in my view, basically, if you're fewer than 130 grams of carbohydrates a day, you are in the low carb zone. And there is a lot of nuance, a lot of wriggle room in that. I prefer the very near zero carbohydrate approach of carnivore, mainly because of the fiber issue. Because I realise that basically, if you eat plants, no matter how low carbohydrate they are, then they will go to your colon to ferment, in other words, to rot. I prefer to eat food which is dissolved in my very low pH stomach and then gets absorbed in my small intestine, leaving only residual waste to pass through my large intestine to be expelled by the normal route. But it's a matter of personal choice. If it's about carbohydrates, then you can include low carb vegetables, low carb foods, keep your carbs down, dial your carbs down. But if you're worried about what happens in your colon, then I think carnivore is the best option. So what do I mean by the why? Well, it's the reason. It's the reason we do these things. In my case, it was definitely desperation because I was very, very ill, very depressed. I weighed 293 pounds at 5'9". I had type 2 diabetes. I had high triglycerides, but not only that, but I had terrible skin afflictions such as boils and athlete's foot, jock itch, and all the other fungal infections as well. I had terrible migraines. I had shooting pains in my thighs, which I think was probably either fibromyalgia or proximal neuropathy. But the doctors refused to give me any form of diagnosis for that, mainly because I'm a Gulf War veteran, and the UK government is desperate not to actually attribute any chronic illness to the vaccines that we had that word, but I can use it in the context of Gulf War that we had in the first Gulf War of 1990-91. So they were very reluctant to give me a diagnosis. At last, they found there's something they could safely hang their hat on, which was type 2 diabetes and morbid obesity, and a waistline of 44 inches when my height is 69. So my waist, if you double my waist, it was 88 inches over 69, which is pretty awful, really, to be perfectly honest. So yeah, that was my why. I had a good reason because I was a heart attack waiting to happen. I'd just seen two of my very good friends who put on a lot of weight die, and they were not much older than me. I was 56 and a half at the time. My good friend and my former team leader from a job which I had locally, he died on Christmas Day 21 at the age of 69, slightly older, but still, he didn't make the 70 mark. And being a former Royal Marine, he was very, very fit in his youth. But the weight caught up with him, the carbohydrates, and it caught up with him. He became very overweight, and eventually he retired. And he told me how wonderful it was to be retired. But he took his foot off the gas, and he paid the ultimate price eventually. And then in the following month, less than a month later, a 59-year-old friend of mine, Tommy, dropped dead at the foot of his stairs on his way to work. Again, he had put on a lot of fat. I knew him first in 2006. This is 2021, and he put on an enormous amount of fat, mainly through drinking those horrible, super sweet Monster Energy drinks. They are lethal, literally lethal. I knew a chap on a building site who got sectioned. He was certified. Went to a facility because he was drinking so many of those. It was a horrible thing to see. So yeah, type 2 diabetes was my why, but there is other whys as well. I mean, I'll give you two. Two of my favourites. If I can think of another one, I will do. One of them being my friend Rebecca Johnson, who now lives over in Spain. She comes from my hometown and was actually raised 4 miles from where I'm sitting now. And her father, who is a retired doctor, actually lives less than a mile away from me. But Rebecca had multiple sclerosis, and she basically decided to explore the carnivore diet because she had nothing to lose. It was, the drugs weren't working, nothing. The therapy that she was getting from the mainstream medical industry wasn't working. She was in a wheelchair, so she adopted the carnivore diet. So she had a very strong why because she was facing life in a wheelchair. Anybody who knows her channel, Cabana Chronicles, will know her story. 4 weeks ago, she posted a video, "Come climb a mountain with me." She went, she filmed herself walking up a mountain in Spain. So she went from wheelchair to walking up mountains in Spain. She had a very strong why, and she reaped the reward. Another one which I use quite a lot is my great friend Celia over in Wales. Celia is very shy, so she has no channel of her own. But I did go out for dinner with Celia very recently, and I can confirm that she is a very sprightly lady, shall we say, in her 70s, early 70s. But at the age of 61, she had to give up her beloved passion of horse riding. She used to ride thoroughbreds for a trainer, but she found herself at the age of 61 in such pain, probably arthritic pain, I'd imagine, that she was totally unable to climb onto a horse and into the saddle. I can confirm, because she showed me the video, that on her last birthday, back in July of this year, she went out for a ride on her birthday. She's back in the saddle now at the age of early 70s, we'll say. I'll spare Celia her blushes. But yeah, so 10 years on from having to give up riding from arthritis, she discovered the carnivore lifestyle and is now safely back in the saddle. So she had a very strong why, because she wanted to get back to doing what she loved, which was riding horses. So she experimented with the carnivore and it worked. You know, that was very good. And my own why is type 2 diabetes. I felt I had nothing to lose. A nurse very kindly told me that all carbohydrates are sugar. So I went away and ultimately came to carnivore and eliminated the carbohydrates. And my story is that I'm now completely out of type 2 diabetes. I weighed 293 pounds when I started. I weighed in this morning at 176. I have been down to 168 back in the summer. But I'm not that bothered about the 8 pounds here and there, because I know that our weight tends to fluctuate on a fairly regular basis anyway. So that's not, even though I watch the scales every day, I'm not, unless I suddenly start shooting back up again, I wouldn't really be concerned. Plus the fact that my waistline dropped from 44 inches to 32. I'm comfortable now in a 34-inch waist with a belt, so it's about 33. So we'll call it 34. Double that, it's 68 inches. My height is 69, which means that double my waist size is below my height, which means I have the correct ratio. Also, my triglycerides to HDL ratio dropped from very high to 0.38, so I've got the correct ratio there. So I had a very strong why, because I knew that I was a heart attack waiting to happen. I knew that I could perhaps get out of type 2 diabetes, but I had no idea that I would feel so good at the same time, or that I would lose originally 42% of my body weight. I was told originally to lose 5%. I did that in the first week, I think, to be honest with you. Absolutely crazy. So that's the whys. There is another young lady out there who I want to mention, and that is, you've probably heard me mention it before, Stephanie Taylor of Happy Sexy Health. Her why was the fact that she is stage 4 ovarian cancer. The prognosis is not good, but she discovered that basically if you go carnivore, keto, and you can keep your what is called the glucose ketone index below 2, then you are killing tumor cells. And that is according to Professor Thomas Seyfried from Boston College over in the States, who is probably the leading expert in treating cancer as a metabolic disease of the mitochondria. She trusts him, as do I. And she actually posted a Facebook video today demonstrating how she measures her glucose ketone index using a keto mojo, and it came up at 1.6, and she averages 1.6. I did witness a conversation between her and Professor Seyfried, in which she said that she averages 1.6 on the GKI. Professor Seyfried was absolutely delighted and congratulated her. So yeah, she has a very strong why for keeping that glucose level down. Therefore, she has also gone on the carnivore diet. There's no saying what the long-term future is for any of us, but at the moment, Steph is enjoying her life again. She's got more energy now, even with stage 4 cancer, than she has throughout her life. So it's the quality of life that is basically that makes a difference. We don't know whether it will increase our lifespan, but what we do say is it will increase our health span, because so many people are living artificially long now, coming under the medical system, but the last years of their life, even as long as 10 and 15 years, can be utter misery because of Alzheimer's and diseases, chronic disease such as arthritis, which puts them in a wheelchair. Classic case of that was my poor mum, who for the last 4 years of her life was bedbound with Alzheimer's, and basically had very limited conversation, very limited memory, very limited mobility. Compare and contrast that with my father, who he wasn't a carnivore or anything, but he was he lived he had probably like a paleo diet because he used to feed himself from his own garden and from the fruits and that he used to gather and that sort of thing. He lived to the age of 94. He died in the August when he was 94 years of age, just turned 94. But he led an absolutely active and physical lifestyle up until the May of the same year when pneumonia got him. And that really knocked him for six to the point where I saw him on July the 17th of that year. And he came in on a walker. And the last words that he ever said to me were, I don't know. He said, I don't know if I'm coming back from this time, George. He was right. Within a month, he was gone. He let go of life because mum had already gone and he was no longer, he didn't want to carry on living as he did. So he let go. Very sad. But on the other hand, at the age of 94, it was far better he let go then than just to carry on deteriorating rapidly. So fair play to Dad. That was yeah, it was a good lesson. Okay, I've done 16 minutes on this one. That is the why part of it. Have a strong why, either through desperation or through inspiration, preferably through inspiration, because then you don't have to get yourself out of the mousetrap that you found yourself caught in. You can actually avoid it in the first place. And prevention is far better than cure. With that thought, I'll say bye for now.